Hey, today we're going to work through a quilted pillow. I'm not showing you how to make, whatever pillow. I'm showing you how to take a quilt block and turn it into a pillow. So in the caption, you will find a link that will take you to a blog post that will give you a download of a pillow making PDF pattern, and in that pattern give you the sizes of all the pieces that you need to make this pillow on lots of standard quilt block sizes, everything from 12.5 inches to 24.5 inches. So lots of standard sizes, but I also show you how to come up with your own size measurements just in case you're working with a quilt block that I didn't list, but I listed a lot of them, so surely you're working with something I did list. Anyway, either way, directions are in that PDF. And this is just kind of a video guide to help you make sense of those instructions. So for this, I'm using binding on the edge. So there's a lot of different options you can use for your edge, but in this one, I'm using binding. And also it is an envelope closure. So very, very basic. The back is not quilted at all. So quick, easy. Let's get started. Okay, so you've got your block that you're turning into a pillow, or you're following a pillow tutorial. This actually is going to be a pillow tutorial in my Bohemian quilt pattern, but you can do this from any quilt block that you have, okay? So if you read the pattern that is accompanying this video, it tells you what size to cut your inner backing and your batting. So you need your top, your inner backing, and your batting for this pillow. I always cut, for pillows, I cut my backing and my batting about 5 inches bigger than my top, which is this right here. And the good thing about your inner backing is that nobody's going to see it. It's on the inside of your quilt. You really only need it for quilting purposes. So I usually use my wide back scraps, which I have a ton of, and they're hard to use. So I'm using my my wide back scraps. So I always cut these 5 inches bigger than the top, but I am not very exact with it. I'm going for around 5 inches bigger, but I just put this on I put this on top of a batting scrap and kind of cut around it. The only important thing I would tell you to watch out for is that your backing and your batting need to measure pretty close to the same thing to make it easier to get this basted. All right, so I always spray baste, and I use the 505 Temporary Adhesive. I really like this stuff. One of the things that I like about this basting spray is that it may cost a little bit more than all the other ones, but this isn't broken, and this doesn't stop working halfway through. I bought a cheap one time, and the spray was coming all out of this nozzle so bad that you couldn't even spray it anymore. So I learned my lesson buying cheap basting spray, and now I just only use this. We're gonna baste these layers. So we're gonna take our batting wrong side up, and then I'm going to put my inner backing right side up and on top of this batting. I'm gonna smooth it all out, and then I will spray. You always want to make sure you spray your batting, not your fabric. All right, so like that. And then I will do this side. And if you're pin basting, that's fine too. Pin baste away. However you want to baste. The important thing is that you got your layers correct. All right, so we're going to flip this whole thing over. And then I'm going to put my quilt block or pillow top, whatever you're using. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing. make sure I get these edges. All right. Oh, that should do. All right. So I'm going to get this quilted and I'll come back when it's done. All right. So I'm all quilted. And I don't know if you are very familiar with free motion quilting, but when you practice your free motion on projects this size, it tends to be a little bit less frustrating. For one, you don't have to move around a bulky quilt, but it also builds up your practice. So I think working on pillows is a great way to learn how to free motion quilt. All right, but now we have to trim away this extra backing or inner backing and batting. So I will line up my ruler with the edge of the pillow and cut through all the layers. And then I'm going to do that for all 4 sides. Okay, so there is my pillow. Let's make our bag. Got some fabric press. I'm just going to use this really nice peach. Okay, so if you have downloaded the PDF pattern that came with the pillow making, you'll notice that it is very customizable. So it also has a bunch of different sizes if you're using standard size blocks to make quilted pillows from, but it also has directions for how to figure out your own measurements if you're using, your own size, if you're doing your own thing. So what you want to do is when you are making a throw pillow, the majority of the time throw pillows, you only need 1 strip for your backing pieces to cut from the yardage. So for me, my pillow was 20.5 inches. So whatever the size of that pillow, that's what you want to cut this strip at. So let me get a 20.5 inch piece cut. Okay, so your biggest piece for your backing, I always make 3.5 inches shorter than what I just cut from the pillow. So my pillow is 20.5 by 20.5. So that means I'm going to cut this first piece at 17 inches. I'm just taking the 3.5 inches away from that 20.5, which brings me to 17. So I'm going to open this up. And let me cut this selvage off. All right, and then I will just cut 17 inches. Let me double check that. All right, so this is going to be the larger piece of my backing. So let me put that to the side. And then we're just going to cut our second piece. And I always cut the second piece at 10 to 12 inches. If you're working with a smaller pillow, you might go down to 9. Like if you were making like a 12-inch pillow, then I would go a lot lower. But it basically doesn't need to be the same size as the front piece, but you also don't want it too narrow. So I would never do like a 5 or 6. I would keep it at around 9. I wouldn't go any smaller than 9. All right, but there's no hard set rules at what you need to make this. I just tend to make them between 10 and 12 inches. So let me cut this selvage off. And then I'll cut the 12 inches. And basically we just want these to overlap. 10, 11, 12. All right, so we're ready to get that finished edge. All right, so you want to find your edge that is the same height as your pillows. So for me, this is the 20.5 by the 17. So I want to be pressing on this 20.5 line. So I'm going to take it right here like this. And on the smaller piece, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to find the 20.5 inch, which is this. And I'm going to put it right here. Now, if you're working with like an 18.5 or a 16.5, that's fine too. That's the width that you want to be pressing this on. This is the part that doesn't need finishing. That's going to be the, you know, the top and the bottom. This is going to be the top and the bottom of your backing pieces, and this is the side of it. And we're pressing the inner sides to make those seams for the envelope closure. All right, so this edge and this edge is what we're working with. And I'm just going to eyeball this 1/4 inch and just kind of fold it down. So it's thereabouts at a 1/4 inch. I'm eyeballing it, so it's not going to be a perfect 1/4 inch, but it'll be good enough. All right. And then I'm going to do it one more time so that I completely close in this raw edge. So fold it again. All right, and I'm going to do the same thing for this bigger one too. So fold it the 1/4 inch. And do it one more time. All right, and now these pieces are ready. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna sew close to this inner part of the fold right here. So I'm trying to get it on the right of it, but I don't want to touch the fold with my stitches, but I want it pretty close to it. So that's where I'm gonna go put some stitches. I'll be right back. Okay, so easy peasy. It looks like that on the inside, and it looks like that on the outside. Pretty good idea to have your bobbin thread match this fabric right here. I used a white thread, so it didn't matter that much. But if I was using like a dark color fabric, I would want dark colored thread. So just a little bit of advice there. And I'm just going to go ahead and give these a quick little press. Make sure that they look nice and neat. I always, for some reason, I always feel the need to press these stitch lines because sometimes they wrinkle up just a smidgen and they don't fit the pillow. So important to get it right. Okay, so get your pillow top front facing you in the right direction and position, whatever you've got going on. And you want to turn it upside down, so right side down. All right, so take your smaller backing piece. And so normally I would have you the larger backing piece first, but on this binding method, we do the smaller backing piece first. All right, so we're just gonna take this backing piece and we're going to make it flush with the top, bottom, and right side of our pillow top. Get it placed down real nice and neat, and then we're gonna do the same thing with the larger backing on the opposite side of the pillow. So nice and neat, just like that. That looks pretty good. And then we will add pins all the way around this thing. The more pins, the better. Also, you're gonna have this overlap, so you wanna make sure that you catch this edge with a pin. So just so it doesn't get shifted somewhere. And that is the edge of that smaller backing piece. So just like that. And I want to do the same thing with this bottom edge. I want to make sure that I catch this right here. So let me go ahead and put a pin right there so I don't get absent-minded and forget it. And then we will just keep adding these pins all the way around. All right, I'm all pinned up. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna start right here at the top and we're gonna sew a 1/4 inch all the way around the perimeter. All right, I've got all this sewn, and you want to take a minute and double check that all 3 pieces are sewn through right where they overlap. So just be a little bit mindful of that. It's important stuff. All right, so just double check that. All right, so at this point, you've got your backing, both pieces on, and you've got your top. All right, so they're in the right position. So now we can move on to binding. I'm going to be using this gorgeous toasty walnut. This is one of my favorite solids in the Pure line from Art Gallery Fabrics. I absolutely love this color. I think it's going to look really, really nice. But also pillows are a great time to use up scrappy binding if you have some scraps. So you could think about that too. 2 strips are going to be enough for any of your larger throw pillows. This is a 20-inch pillow. 2 strips is going to be plenty. And I think there's only like maybe a 12-inch would use 1 strip, but most of the other sizes are going to use 2 strips. Check your pattern because it does tell you all the standard sizes of how many strips to cut, and it also tells you how to figure out your own amount if you are using something if you are using a size that's not included in the pattern. All right, so now we are going to sew our binding onto our pillow just the same way we normally do when we're making a quilt. So let me get that done, and I'll pop back in here and show it to you. Okay, so I've put my binding on the back. Now, if you've been following me a long time, you know I really dislike binding to be on the back of the quilt and then fold to the front. I don't like it. But when it comes to pillows and quilted runners and things that are decorative, think about notebooks or purses or pouches. When it comes to that, then I change my mind and I do like it to fold over to the front, because this is going to be, you know, a decorative piece in my house, a pillow. I'm going to look at it a lot. So I think it would be really nice to have those stitches on the front. One of the things I don't like about it on the quilt that way is it kind of it takes all the attention. And also, if you have any kind of points running up through here, when you fold your binding to the front, you lose those points. So that really bothers me, which is why I usually stitch my binding onto the front of the quilt and then fold it over, you know, onto the back. But for decorative pieces, that's going to be the opposite. But definitely do it the way you prefer to do it. You don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to spend this evening hand stitching this binding. I'm going to use my chunky binding tutorial and do like this. And I'm going to hand stitch it with this big chunky number 8 thread. And that is going to look so great, I think. I'm going to spend this evening doing that. When I come back, I'm going to have a completed pillow, and then we'll pop the pillow in and see what it ends up looking like. So I will see you then. Okay, so I actually already washed it. I stitched it up and then got it washed, and there are those stitches so that you can see them, and it just adds such a nice detail for the pillow, especially when you're working on something really small. I like adding in these extra details because they don't take so long on smaller projects. All right, so anyway, you can really see how this one crinkled up all nicely after being washed. Let's get the pillow in there. For the pillow size, well, I always put the pillow size whatever the block is. So mine was a 20-inch block, so I'm using a 20-inch pillow form. But you can just really use, you know, whatever you want to do. That's just kind of what I do, and I like these frumpy looking pillows the best, and it looks pretty frumpy, I think. Yay! I'm really excited about this. Look how cute. Okay, yay! I hope you enjoyed learning how to make a pillow. There's a bunch of different pillow making things that you could do differently. So this is not the only way to make a pillow. This is just one way. So I would tell you just to find your favorite way. And this one is definitely mine. I think it's the easiest. But you might want a zipper. You might want, you know, something other than binding, like cordings. There's a lot of different things that you can do with pillows. So anyway, hope you enjoyed.